There's a reality here that you guys are all asleep to. In order to hold the line, you have to be willing to let somebody put a bullet in your head. I am looking at the chessboard and saying, we are the only alternative path.
They've tried both parties, nothing works. Like, what is the solution?
We are heading to dark places, whether it is sectarian violence, whether it's actual civil war. The answer is freedom. Freedom is what brings the left and the right together because it reduces the size of the state and the influence. It reduces the money printing. And within that, you have Bitcoin, which is a solution.
What I'm not sure about is whether you can get there without some form of authoritarianism.
This is reality. Like, the veil's been lifted now. The anti-freedom is allowing someone to vote away your money. They're closing the doors. You need to be acquiring assets for when everything changes. You can't convince them. You have to defeat them. So everything is war.
I don't think any government party wants to give total freedom to its people.
No, they don't. The people have to take the freedom.
How did the proposal for the stadium go? How was it received?
Well,
I was kind of there when that was all breaking.
with some and shit with others, as it always is.
But I mean, you think it's going to go through? Is the council pissed at you still?
We'll get it through. It's whether we can raise 60 million quid.
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
The council's always pissed. But fuck them.
Because Pete's at war. Pete is at war.
Always at war.
War with the
Why
council.
is it always a war? You just put a tweet out
we started?
that Liz Truss responded to. Don't do this. Have we started? That Liz Truss
The
responded
minute you have to assume the minute you sit down, it's going.
It's going. Pete knows this. He's just trying to
just
trigger
be the
me.
dick.
It's nice to be reunited.
It is. It feels good.
The old crew.
Hey, boys.
The band is back together.
Hey, boys.
The band is back together. Yeah, your tweet,
Yes.
everything is war.
No, I didn't say everything is war. My tweet was like coming to this realization that my Twitter feed is literally full of how society's divided at the moment. So half the people are socialists / communists / Marxists who are talking about having policies such as the highest paid person in a company can be only paid 10 times more than the lowest paid, and that we need to tax billionaires and subsidize energy, all this socialist nonsense. And then the other half is kind of free market right-wingers. And so this divide exists. And
Is this a Twitter divide or is this a...
No, I think Twitter is always a lens to reality. I think it always is. It's the representation of what's going to happen at the ballot box. It's like, I think we're heading towards an inflection point in the UK and perhaps in other places such as Canada and Australia, and where it's like, which way, Western man? And it's a decision between free market fascism and communism.
I don't think people know that that's how it's being framed.
Well, I'm being slightly facetious, but so I said I've given up trying to discuss this and debate with socialists, because it doesn't matter what economic arguments you provide. You can show them an entire history of socialism killing tens of millions of people, and you can show them economic facts. They won't listen. They are ideologically convinced that we need to live in a socialist environment, as I am ideologically convinced we need free market economics. Mm-hmm. And so if you can't win that argument, what's the point? Liz Truss replied and said, well, this is the point with communists. You can't convince them. You have to defeat them. And so I was thinking about that in the lift, and I realized like the only answer to this is we just have to go and kill them all.
I mean,
and now you have become the communist. This is the problem.
So it's like, then I'm thinking, well, it's like the art of war. How do you win this war? Well, if you think it's a political war to win, you have 40% of the people don't turn out and vote. Mm-hmm. So you have to mobilize the non-voters. You have to convince whatever is in the middle ground that conservative economics is what you want, and you have to kill all the lefties.
Stop.
I'm joking. But the point is, I was like, okay, so everything is war. Everything is war. Mm-hmm. You know, as you live, you're in a war with I'm at a war with my belly. I literally live. I'm at a war with my belly. I am at a war with YouTube algorithm to have my show be relevant. We're at war with our family sometimes, or with I'm a good guy. I look after my town. I'm at a war with my community. And we're at war as nation states, and we're at war over everything is war.
But this is so black-pilled. And this kind of gets back to the cheat code thing. Me and HODL were sat watching your opening thing at Cheat Code, which is where you were basically saying, what the fuck is the point?
You were like, we're all fucked. It's
we're
over.
going to die.
And HODL turned to me and went, what is this shit? And he was like, okay, he was closing out the day with an interview with you. And he was like, okay, I'm not doing an interview now. I'm doing an intervention. Like, you're always a little more optimistic than Pete on this stuff. Like, what's the white pill version of what's happening?
Because you live in America, goddammit.
I mean, listen, I could do the rah-rah pro-America. We got liberty and freedom over here. Y'all know nothing about that, okay? No,
I got me a big old truck.
But the truth is, like, the world wants... Pete's right in that the world wants to go to war. It's just that I have always an optimistic disposition on everything because, you know, there are always opportunities. It's not that, and I don't mean this as like in a selfish, like you can be a war profiteer kind of way. I just mean it as like these cycles exist in humanity. You know, yeah, everything is war. I mean, that's a like astute point, and like, you know, violence is the supreme authority, and humans, you know, these systems as they fall apart, people want to go to violence against each other. But I think that, you know, one thing I want to ask you about this, I've noticed in, you know, you've been doing these interviews with like Simon Dixon and these guys. And the new show, by the way, super popular. Like you're doing great. You're having a lot of success. But I've noticed that the content you do now that gets the most clicks is we're all fucked. And I'm wondering if it's seeping into your consciousness in the way where you're like, yeah, we are all fucked. And like, fuck it. Like it just is what it is. Whereas in Bitcoin land, like I think like when I talk to Danny, we're still like more on the optimistic side of like we have an answer.
I think we have an alternative. So this is something I've thought about a lot as well, because like that is what you see with your show, and it's like it's kind of the same topics that we've always done on What Bitcoin Did, and I still cover some of the same topics. But at the end of the interview, there's always like the piece of hope, which is Bitcoin, and because you're not talking about Bitcoin as much, like I wonder if you're getting less of the hope out of these people.
Well, because my community is different now.
Yeah.
Yes, Bitcoin has come in, and we will make Bitcoin shows. And I'm interviewing Michael Saylor today, and I'm going to interview him, and it's like the first time I've ever interviewed him. So my new audience sees the hope of Bitcoin, and so they get that. And I was thinking about it, because you look in the comments and people are like, oh, it's always doomy, it's always really depressing. It's like, but this is reality.
Yeah.
Like the veil's been lifted now. Everything we were suspicious about previously, that there were these malign influences on politics and media, it's just out in the open. They're just telling us now that, haha, fuck you, we're taking all your money.
AI is a good example, right? Because they're basically like the pitch for AI is like, how is this going to make my life better? And they're like, well, it's not. It's going to make your life a lot worse. You're a slave. You're a moo tax cow, and you go moo, and we squeeze your udders, and you give us tax milk.
So,
you know
so if my show seems kind of depressing,
it's because you're dealing with depressing subjects all day long.
Yeah, but I don't think of it myself as depressing. I think of it as myself as truth. And if you don't want the truth, there is a blue pill over there for you. And if you want the truth, here is the red pill. And once you've taken the red pill, here is the black pill. And let's just deal in reality, because I am in reality. I'm in Bitcoin. If I want to leave the UK, I'll get the fuck out of England. I'll just go and live where I want. I have hope. I know what I'm going to do. But I don't have hope for my people, like the people of Bedford and the people of the UK, because of the absolute terrible state our country's in. So like, here is the truth. If you don't want it, fine. Go and vote for Zach Polanski. Go and live in your socialist utopia.
The thing that keeps me up at night is the idea of a critical error with my Bitcoin cold storage. And this is where AnchorWatch comes in. With AnchorWatch, your Bitcoin is insured with your own A+ rated Lloyd's of London insurance policy. And all Bitcoin is held in their time-locked multi-sig vaults. So you have the peace of mind knowing your Bitcoin is insured while not giving up custody. So whether you're worried about inheritance planning, wrench attacks, natural disasters, or just your own silly mistakes, you're protected by AnchorWatch. Rates for fully insured custody start as low as 0.55% and are available for individual and commercial customers located in the US. Speak to AnchorWatch for a quote, and for more details about your security options and coverage, visit anchorwatch.com today. That's anchorwatch.com. Bitcoiners, as you know, with fiat money constantly debasing, wealth preservation isn't optional. That's why I recommend Swan Bitcoin, a team of dedicated Bitcoiners who work with families and businesses to build and secure generational wealth with Bitcoin. Strong relationships with clients are at the center of everything Swan does. A dedicated Swan Private Wealth representative, which is a real person that you can text and call, will help you build a Bitcoin wealth strategy using Swan's comprehensive platform of Bitcoin services, including tax advantage retirement accounts, advanced Bitcoin cold storage using collaborative self-custody, inheritance planning with both trust and entity accounts, tax loss harvesting, asset-backed loans, and more. Swan have helped over 100,000 clients since 2020, and if you're serious about acquiring and securing Bitcoin, I recommend Swan. Meet the team at swan.com/WBD, which is SWAN.com/WBD. Do you wish you could access cash without selling your Bitcoin? Well, Ledden makes that possible. They're the global leader in Bitcoin-backed lending, and since 2018, they've issued over $9 billion in loans with a perfect record of protecting client assets. With Ledden, you get full custody loans with no credit checks or monthly repayments, just easy access to dollars without selling a single sat. Ledden exclusively offer Bitcoin-backed loans with all collateral held by Ledden directly or their funding partners. Your Bitcoin's never lent out to generate interest. I recently took out a loan with Ledden. The whole process was super easy. The application took me less than 15 minutes, and in a few hours, I had the dollars in my account. It was super smooth. So if you need cash, but you don't want to sell Bitcoin, head over to ledden.io/WBD, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. That's ledn.io/WBD. If, like me, you're heading to Vegas for the Bitcoin conference this month, then Club Orange is the app you need. There's a million things going on at the conference, and it's the best way to find all the after parties and side events and connect with Bitcoiners while you're there. I've been using Club Orange since it was Orange Pill app, and it's my go-to whenever I'm traveling. Not just for conferences, but for finding meetups and events and merchants accepting Bitcoin wherever I am. There are over 19,000 Bitcoiners on there, and it's a great way to stay connected, whether you're on the road or at home. If you're on there, drop me a DM and say hi, and if not, search for Club Orange on your app store or go to cluborange.org.
But do you think you can vote your way out of this?
Yes, with the right leader.
You think that right leader is there? Because that's been said a lot. In the UK, they've tried both parties, nothing works. Like, what is the solution?
Well, there's no definitive answer. You get an option at the ballot box, and what you're generally voting on is the pace of change for you. So if you're voting socialist, it might feel like you're slowing the pace of decline for you, and you're increasing the pace of decline for the rich people.
For those you hate.
Those you hate.
Your enemies.
Whereas if you're voting conservative, you're kind of hoping for a slow of the pace of decline for you, but really you're hoping for a slow of the pace of decline for everyone, because if you're getting true conservatism, which is conservative economics, you don't tend to get that in the UK.
No, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like, we've not had a real conservative party there for a long time.
Yeah, and like I was talking to a guy last night, and he said, look, the truth about politicians is the best opinion to take is, I don't trust you, you're a liar, because you'll most likely be proven right. So even if there is somebody out there, should you really trust them? The one person who has a bit of a momentum on the conservative side is Rupert Lowe. The thing is can he build a big enough tent in between now and the next election, which is 3 years away, which is going to be very difficult, because I don't think the country has, enough of the people in the country have the stomach for what he wants. So most likely the next election, we will have a hung parliament. Do you know what a hung parliament is?
Well, it's just kind of like, stalemate.
Yeah, stalemate. You don't really have that here as such.
No, we do. I mean, if there's a equal split, the two sides can box each other out.
Yeah, whereas we have to get a majority.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have a hung parliament.
Well, I think the problem Lowe has too is that let's say he wins on the conservative side, and he overtakes reform. He is going to be just beset on all sides by enemies. Every leftist in the country will come together to just absolutely defeat Lowe.
It's not even just the leftists. Like some of his policies are like pretty extreme. I'm not even saying they're wrong, but they're like pretty extreme.
But extreme is subjective.
No, it's like he's basically saying, I want to set the country back to 1997.
Yeah.
And that is now viewed as extreme.
But
right?
What I mean by extreme is like he's talking about deporting millions of people.
Yes.
And like I'm not saying that's a bad thing necessarily, but it's quite an extreme measure, and it's like there's a lot of people that even on the right are going to fight that.
Well, both. This is the choice. We are going into an election which is an existential crisis, whether it's left or right. That is how it is portrayed in the media by opinion leaders. And so, what I think
is that new for you guys? For us, that's like constant.
This actually is interesting. After Cheat Code, I saw something you put on Nosta about the way that the media is.
So I spent
the narrative-driven media.
I went to a very fancy hotel in Windsor Park next to Elton John's house, and I was watching the BBC and ordering room service for a few hours. And I was noticing, I texted Pete about this, and he was like, BBC's all crap. You shouldn't watch it. But I was watching, Sky TV and BBC and just flipping around to English channels. And, it's very interesting the way you guys do propaganda, because your propaganda is like a warm cup of tea. It's like a blanket. It's like, isn't this quaint? Isn't this, aren't we civil? England will always be here, And it's like, I found myself, like, while I'm in the hotel room getting lulled into complacency. I'm like, this is nice, And then I talk to people at the pub, and they're giving me the, what are you going on about? Why are you trying to make it all? You're trying to disrupt everything, right? And it's like, no, there's a reality here that you guys are all asleep to. And I wonder if and when the English people are ever going to wake up, you know?
Yeah, look.
When does the Saxon begin to hate? You know what I mean? Like,
look, I think the reality is that we are going through what is like an evolutionary period of how society operates. And I think there's two ways to look at it. There's that kind of claw to what the past, and I hope we can get back to this kind of like nice world we were in the late 90s, or this vision I've got that I hope we can do. And then there's a group of people who are like, oh no, I see what's happening, and we are heading to dark places, whether it is sectarian violence, whether it's actual civil war, whether it's socialist authoritarianism. It's something bad is what we're heading towards, because we are so split and it's impossible to bring us together. Mm-hmm. There is no world now where the right and the left can meet in a centrist place and go, yeah, John, it's just not happening. So if the right win, the left will attack. If the left win, the right will attack. And so we're swinging, the pendulum swinging harder and harder. A bit like here, you know, next election, is it AOC or Newsom or whoever against Rubio? And it's like once you're on a side and you care enough to be vocal about it, you're entirely against the other side. There's no rational thought, there's no rational discussion, and you are split on every single point. I know the answer. The answer is freedom. Freedom is what brings the left and the right together, because it reduces the size of the state and the influence, reduces the malign influence of the media, it reduces the money printing, and within that you have Bitcoin, which is a solution, which is great. But you cannot sell freedom to enough people, because when you sell freedom, you have to make compromises. You sell freedom to the left, they have to make compromises. You sell freedom to the right, they have
compromises?
Okay, so on the left, you have to make they have to make compromises with regards to the economy, because you would have free market capitalism. Okay, and that's not what the left want. The left want redistribution of wealth. They want bureaucracy. They want rules. They want employment rules. They want minimum wages. You can't have that. If you want to have freedom, you have to have free markets, free association. So they can't make that compromise. On the right, if they want freedom, the right have been kind of censoring people a little bit as well, and they've got to tolerate. I mean, both sides have to tolerate free idea, free thought, free speech. But freedom is what can bring people together, because the individual can operate without the influence of the state, without the influence of the politicians, because it's the politicians themselves who want power. And what do? It's what Bastiat said. Yeah, when they go beyond defending life, liberty, and property, and go into redistribution, it inverses the morality. So they're like, well, I want that group of voters, so I'm going to give you what they want, and fuck those people over there. But when you go just to freedom, just life, liberty, and property, you reduce the need and the size of the state, so the individual gets to operate.
But the individual can already operate like that in Bitcoin without the state.
Sure. We got like 12 Bitcoiners in England.
But like, I just think that might be an unattainable goal. Like, I don't think any government party wants to give total freedom to its people.
No, they don't. The people have to take the freedom.
Yeah.
In history, we've never got. I mean,
by the way, you guys in the UK are an interesting case, because you never beheaded your king. You know, almost everybody, as the Enlightenment swept across Europe, almost everybody else beheaded the monarchy.
Didn't Cromwell? Who did Cromwell behead?
I don't know.
I don't know English history well.
Yeah, me neither.
But I mean, you never displaced your monarchy. That's the point. Yeah. You know, so you still have a monarchy. You know, like, I mean, it's not a real monarchy, but you still have one. So you have a figureheads. Yeah,
it's a fake monarchy.
It's fake.
But
they live at they live off the public largesse.
Yeah,
you know,
they bring a lot of money into the country, though.
Right. Well, that's what the fucking stupid shit you guys all say.
Look, I've been in Bitcoin for 12 years. We are not going to be able to teach enough people and convince them that we can change the country through the freedoms that come adjacent to Bitcoin fast enough. It's just not going to happen, because you have to sell freedom to enough people, and freedom is a hard thing to sell to people.
But I don't understand what you're saying as the alternative to that.
Well, the alternatives are individual freedom. Well, like you can attain that, and that individual freedom means you can kind of ignore the state. If the state becomes so pernicious that it's affecting your life too much, you can leave if you've got financial freedom, because you've got social mobility. Or you have war, some kind of war, and I think we are now in war.
You're in a Cold War.
Yeah, we're in a
cultural Cold War.
We're in a
civil war.
It's a cold civil war.
Cold civil war.
It's like what you guys are behind us by like 5 years, because America's had this going on since like maybe at least 2016, like during the first election of Donald Trump. You know, so we've had a cold cultural civil war going on, and like you can all the chaos in America is that it is outcrops of that, you know, cold civil war. And for most people, it's like, you know, whatever, it's neither here nor there. But occasionally you see it pop up, and there's like actual street violence, and the same types of things that were like occurring pre-World War I, pre-World War II, where commies and fascists were fighting in the street. Like we have that going on here and there, and those things are all precursor states to full-scale war. You know.
Do you think that's the likely outcome? Because I need an optimistic take here, because this is, again, doom.
I am being optimistic, I think. Like
The optimistic take is war, because you have a clear out.
That's a stretch for me.
Well, the problem is nobody can see
Did I hold that well?
You did.
nobody can see a way out without violence, right? So the left has their preferred type of violence against the preferred groups they want to do violence against. Like, I mean, you know, listen, it's not actually a policy dispute. Like the left actually wants the right dead. And I think the right doesn't want the left dead as much, but they could be forced into killing everybody, right? Like, so the right views violence like a switch, and they flip the switch. It's either off or it's kill everybody. The left views violence like a volume knob, you know, turn it up to what suits you. They're, you know, including like low-level street violence. If you wear a MAGA hat, you get punched in the face. If you, you know, you can turn it all the way up to like political assassinations, right? So they view violence differently. But at the end of the day, like they actually do want to displace and kill millions of people. And the right will displace and kill millions of people, then they have the ability to do so. So these things are butting against each other. And you're looking down the barrel of these and you're like, yeah, it's like Danny said, it's terrifying. And we are looking at a scenario in which, like, if there is World War III or some type of World War III, it's millions dead. And those are the kind of things that Pete talks about on his show. And so it's like, yeah, that's black-pilled as fuck. But for me as a Bitcoiner, I am looking at the chessboard and saying, we are the only alternative path, the only one, okay? And like, if we can demonetize the system before it can do mass-scale war, then maybe we have a shot. But it's a big maybe.
So I think there's two positive communities.
What's the other one?
I think Christianity.
Yeah.
I mean,
as well.
I'm still confused on my own faith, but I know Christian values are good values.
The only reason not to kill everybody is Christianity.
Yeah. So
know?
I'll give you the optimistic take. The optimistic take is a charismatic leader who is able to bridge the left and right divide and convince people that the only path is freedom.
See, I just don't know if there's a single figure in the world that can bridge that divide.
Well, the problem is the charismatic figure is not going to sell freedom. He's going to sell authoritarian.
And the other, I think also, if you look at like who's going to win in this over the next decade, is it going to be the left or right? Like, I think add AI to the mix, and if we get massive job losses, then the left is going to win.
But like there is, I mean, we should talk about AI as well.
Yeah.
But there is a significant argument that some forms of authoritarianism are like we
Look
have.
at El Salvador.
Yeah, we have
right?
in the UK. What we have is like this pathetic authoritarianism,
Nanny state
like,
authoritarianism.
Yeah, nanny state,
Yeah.
managerial. Like we want to.
Mary Poppins as dictator.
Yeah, it's like it's the redistributive. Whereas if you look at in the Middle East, some of the Emirati
Saudis,
states,
yeah.
they have a different kind of authoritarianism. Look, it isn't great. I'm not saying it's like I want it, but I'm just saying their society seems to be okay in Dubai and Saudi.
Depending on who you are.
Sure, depending on who
Like,
you are.
they still
Right.
use slave labor, and like it's not free. It's not freedom.
Sure.
And El Salvador is not freedom. Like they might have made the country a lot better, but like the thing that I can never get past is the fact that they just lock anyone up with a tattoo, or did. Like that's not freedom. It might make the country better, but it's not freedom.
Well, he makes a good argument. Is it freedom to be terrorized by street gangs
Right.
Absolutely not.
who will rape and murder your 12-year-old daughter?
No, absolutely not. Obviously, but like having a tattoo doesn't mean you're one of those people. But you're still in jail.
The absolute best system of governance is to actually have a benevolent dictator. That's the absolute best system of governance.
Can you ever have a benevolent dictator that remains a benevolent
That's
dictator?
That's the problem, right? So like that's the problem with monarchy is that the benevolent dictator, like Marcus Aurelius, is amazing, and then his son Commodus is a total piece of shit, and that the whiplash from that in just one generation is crazy, right? But for the citizens on the ground in El Salvador, if you were a abuela making pupusas, fucking, and then you were having to deal with these gang members who were threatening to chop off your limbs and now they're in jail, do you really give a fuck about their human rights?
Absolutely
not at all.
not. No.
Zero.
And,
right?
and I've never been to El Salvador, but I'm sure he's made the country miles better. Like, I believe that.
Yes.
But I don't think it's maximally freedom.
It's not.
Do you think everyone in jail in the UK and in America is guilty of a crime?
No, of course not.
So there's no difference really.
There's the judicial system difference.
Well,
Do you think El Salvador has as good a judicial system as the UK?
for instance, like the UK,
I don't have the data on it, but I do know the judicial system itself is in both countries seems like a fair system because it's a judicial system. But really, it's about winning an argument. It's not about right or wrong. It's about winning an argument.
and also, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you guys just got rid of right to jury trial, which existed since Magna Carta.
Not yet. It's not gone
But
yet.
it's on the way out.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get away with that.
They're trying to.
What do they want to do?
They want to get rid of jury trials for anything outside of like serious crimes like rape or murder.
So is
They
that
said-
more like the US then? Because you don't have jury for everything.
No, we have
do
jury
you?
for everything.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the point. It's your peers to judge you.
Now, the way the system works here is like they try and force you into a plea bargain. So, like
Yeah.
what they did with the samurai guys is a good example. They hit the samurai guys with like, you're facing 30 years, right?
Yeah.
You're facing 25. You can plea for 5.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's how the feds have such a high conviction rate in America is they, stick you with every possible, they don't go after you for 7 years. They go after you for 30 years. And then they make you gamble with your life. And
Yeah.
most people are thinking, okay, I'm going to miss my kids, elementary school, but I'm going to be there for middle school and high school. And like, fuck it. That's the deal I'm going to take.
This was what Ross Ulbricht.
Yeah.
They offered him a plea deal of, I think it was 10 years. And he
he
turned
said
it down.
no.
He was like, no, I'm innocent.
Yeah.
And then faced a double life sentence plus 40 years.
Yeah.
A keeping charge.
And then he ended up doing 10.
I mean, is that a fair
roughly.
system?
Of course not. No.
No.
Of course not.
Yeah. So look,
Democracy is a bad system.
Yes.
It's just the least bad is like, the Winston Churchill quote or whatever, versus all the other ones that have been tried. But it's a shit system.
Do you think democracy exists in 20 years' time? In the
I think
same way that it
the
does
problem
today?
with democracy is that it's cyclical in the sense that like there's a quote I like by Tytler where he basically says that every democracy collapses under loose fiscal policy because the proletariat, the people like learn that they can vote largesse from the public treasury so they can keep voting for socialist programs and socialist systems, and the politicians that offer more and more social programs, social entitlement systems, they're the politicians that get elected, and then it collapses because of loose fiscal policy. And then everybody's left standing in the bag being like, I guess infinity money didn't work, and then an authoritarian dictatorship replaces it. So this is a historical cycle that goes over and over and over again, and democracies tend to last about 200 years on average.
democracies
I'm not being fatalistic, by the way. I'm just saying like this is a historical precedent.
democracy just needs some tweaks. Like I wouldn't allow anyone under 25 to vote.
Not a bad idea. Or over 65, let's say.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't allow anyone who was a net taker from the system to vote.
Right.
Because the incentives are wrong.
You have no incentive.
You have no incentive.
And that's billionaires and, homeless alike.
See, I don't even not like those ideas. I'm just trying to figure if that fits into your framework of wanting maximum freedom.
Well,
Like,
If-
I think there's loads of hypocrisies in it. That
Freedom's always hypocritical, though.
So
You can't have freedom because freedom is a perfect state. And so you can't reach a perfect state without being a hypocrite.
But
and
it's
in
like-
order to strive towards a more perfect state,
But-
you have to continually be at odds with, the reality of the situation.
But some rules like that end up being like you're kind of striving for freedom via some form of authoritarianism.
let me make the argument
Sometimes.
back. So why can't you vote until you're 25? Well, your brains aren't developed. And so we don't allow kids to have sex at certain ages or drive cars at certain ages, all which are responsible decisions. A vote is a very responsible decision.
But then do you need an IQ test? Because there's loads of 35-year-olds that are fucking idiots.
Well, yeah, but I
That'd
think
be ideal.
I
That'd
think
be
your
ideal.
IQ test is whether you're a net taker from the system or not. But so you would argue, I'm guessing what your argument back is what you're saying is that if you are a net taker from the system, and that means you don't get a vote, that's anti-freedom. But the anti-freedom is allowing someone to vote away your money, vote away the theft of your money. And so if you contribute to a system, you have a vote.
yeah. Skin in the game.
Skin in the game.
Yeah.
I don't even hate the idea. It's just that it's not freedom though.
To have a...
Because there's still...
anytime you have a government, it's not freedom.
Yeah.
right? So
But
it's
this- but this
if we're
is-
in a perfect freedom state, there's no government.
But this is why I said, do you think that democracy will still exist in 20 years in the same way that it does today?
It's going to go through its continuous cycle of collapse and rebirth, I think.
Yeah.
Like always.
We're always at war with something because there's no perfect system.
Yeah. And we're not perfect people either.
I also think this idea of like the Rupert Lowe's of the world, who I think some of his ideas are good, but getting back to being like a 1990s type Britain, I just think is a dream.
Yeah, but I don't think he's trying to actually return us to 1990s Britain itself.
He's trying to find people who agree
I think
with
he's
him.
trying to return to like some 1990s or even earlier legislation. Like, I think he's trying to return the population split to 1990s. I think it's certain things like that. But he accepts reality, he accepts where we are. But the UK is in a terrible state.
We've spoken about this before, but I think one of the trickiest things in the UK right now is that everyone wants to be like, we need to bring back British culture. But I've not heard someone explain what British culture is well. Like, I don't know if
Stiff upper lip, keep calm and carry on.
But like,
we will
what-
defend our
what-
island home.
Yeah, what does it
You know
mean
what I
to
mean?
be British?
For England boys, get on a ship and go colonize some motherfuckers. I mean, there's a lot of things that are English culture. We can see it maybe more clearly than you because it's from the outside.
yeah.
You know?
Well, what does it? You're British. What does it mean British to you?
But that's I don't know if I've got a good answer to that, because like people will say like Rupert Lowe says this. He says that like Britain is a Christian country, Christian nation, and I was raised with Christian values. I went to a like kind of religious school. It wasn't very religious.
Yeah.
But and I think that the like Christian values are part of British culture. But like, what is the atheist numbers in the UK? It's huge. It's like it's the more atheist than almost any.
Yeah, but
Western
how
country.
shit is your culture now?
Correct. But so what does it
The
mean?
more,
We all need to
the further
turn
it gets
religious
away
again.
from Christianity, the less ideal it is in the like, the less it is what the British culture we give you guys a lot of shit, the Americans. Like, we love to. It's so fun, but we deeply love you and respect you and look up to you.
It's like a father-child relationship.
Yeah, not now. We look up to who you used to be. We look up to our perception of you. You know what I mean?
I think
like,
that's probably true across all of Europe.
So I think there
like
are,
late 1800s Britain. We look up to that.
Yeah.
So I think there are cultural values that are more universal, that don't just they're not just cultural values for the UK, but are cultural values, which is buy a home, have a family, have kids, go
Is
to work.
buying a home a value though?
It's a cultural value, I think so. That cultural attainment. But then there's like deeper cultural points. Like, I just think the pub itself is a cultural
I totally agree with that.
institution of the UK. Like, you go to you've been to my local pub.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have the equivalent of that.
No.
Where you walk across the road and you see your neighbor and you all know each other.
It's the
and you
community
have a
hub.
beer.
We have bars, but bars are really more for, just drinking. And it's like, you go there if you want to drink.
Yeah, whereas we go over for
You
dinner.
go for all sorts of things.
You go for mainly sports and hanging out with your buddies, right?
Yeah.
But we can be in any group.
This is like a community hub in the UK. That like the local pub is where people go to.
We were talking about this too, that like, we saw a group of young people hanging out at your local pub, and you were explaining to me that like, this is a new thing
Yes.
because the city center is no longer safe. I was walking around the city center in Bedford. It's not safe. I was there at like 2, 3 a.m. and like, even as a big guy, I felt sketched out because I don't have a knife on me or a gun or anything. In America, I would have a fucking gun on me. In the UK, I don't have one. So like, I'm walking around, I feel sketched out, and like, that's the feeling that they're having. So they're retreating to the local pubs. But in some big, broad cultural sense, your streets are not really streets. They're like for cars. They're like donkey paths. They're donkey paths that have been in existence for 1,000+ years. And the cultural cross-pollination of the donkey path that goes between, these little narrow streets, that is like largely where English culture arises from, I think. And when you like rid yourselves of the ability to like feel safe and walk around your own high street, you are destroying thousands of years of culture that are
Think about when you
inbuilt.
were a kid. Saturday, you go to the Mac Town Centre.
I mean, yeah, go play football.
Yeah, go play football with your mates. But if you were with your parents, they take you to the town centre.
Yeah.
The town centre was the meeting point. It was the meeting point for trade, like social gatherings. You go to the town centre, and that's been destroyed by a number of reasons. Like, it's been destroyed by retail parts and online shopping. But there's another point. The cultural hub of the town centre, and the pubs have also been destroyed by the state. Business rates, higher taxation in other areas, lack of safety in the town centres, the acceptance of crackheads and shoplifting and there's just the blatant shoplifting in the UK. That has destroyed the cultural hub of the town centre. So you go to the Bedford town centre now, it's a shithole. I get hammered for this, but it's like you have to accept reality to fix it. It is a shithole.
Yeah.
And you have the vape shops and you have the Turkish barbers and you have you don't want to go in that town centre. That's not a nice feeling. So you're dispersing the cultural behaviour to the edge of the town and to the villages.
Do you want to pay less in taxes and stack more Bitcoin? Of course you do. Well, by mining Bitcoin with Blockware, you can. Under Section 168K of the US tax code, Bitcoin mining servers qualify for 100% bonus depreciation. This means every dollar you spend on miners can directly offset your income in a single year. And that's true for both business owners and W-2 earners. If you have $100,000 in ordinary income, you can purchase $100,000 in miners and potentially offset your tax liability entirely. Blockware's mining as a service does all the heavy lifting, they secure the rigs, they source the low-cost power, and they handle all the day-to-day maintenance. So you get to stack Bitcoin every single day while drastically shrinking your tax bill. Get started today at blockwaresolutions.com/WBD and use code WBD for $100 off your first miner. That's blockwaresolutions.com/WBD. If you hold Bitcoin, your phone number is one of your biggest vulnerabilities. SIM swap attacks are one of the most common attack vectors targeting Bitcoiners. Somebody socially engineers an employee at your carrier, moves your number to a new device, and they're into your accounts. It happens because traditional carriers put a human in control of your phone number, someone who can be bribed or tricked. But Cape is a US mobile carrier built from the ground up with privacy and security at the core. They don't ask for your name or social security number when you sign up. They collect the minimum data required, delete it as fast as possible, and never sell it. When you sign up, you receive a 24-word passphrase, just like a Bitcoin wallet. That's the only way to move your number. Not a customer service rep, not even Cape's own staff can do it. You're the only person who controls your number. If you hold your own keys, you should hold your own phone number too. So head over to cape.co/WBD and use code WBD at checkout for 33% off your first 6 months. That's cape.co/WBD and use code WBD. If you already self-custody Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. Well, Bitkey fixes that. Bitkey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure self-custody without the stress. And Time named Bitkey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world when you use the code WBD. That's bitkey.world and use the code WBD.
Is that not happening in America too, though? Like, I don't know America well.
It's been that way in America for a long time.
Because, like, in New York, like, you go into a CVS and you can't get anything off the shelf without getting a shop attendant to come and, like, open the box for you because shoplifting's such a problem. Like, I don't know what it's like in Vegas, but is this a global problem?
Yeah. Well, all across the U.S., the city center has always been full of crime, or, in the last, 75 years, more so. And, so, the suburbs are the safe place, and people do proliferate out to the suburbs if they want to, you want to have safety and security for your family, for your kids. You want to be out of the city center. And, it's very different, though, because we have a car culture. Most of America was built after the invention of the automobile. And so there are old American cities like New Orleans and Boston and San Francisco, and they have a little bit of a European feel because they were built pre-car. But most cities, you go visit, Kansas City, it's going to be mainly, a culture that's built around automobiles. And so if you have that culture where you go to and fro in your car, that's a very different culture than the European walkability. Hey, I'm just going to stop into the shop here. I might pop in. I might get a donut or whatever, croissant. I might go over here. I might get a coffee. I might go over there. I might talk to this guy. I might, And that is a special thing that you guys have in Europe. And we're actually jealous of that, but we can't create it here because the city centers are unsafe.
Yeah.
And Danny,
now that's becoming that way there too.
And Danny, if you think of historic Britain, you think of James Bond, or you think of Oxford and Cambridge and the boat race, or you think of how we're represented historically in the movies. Think of the civility that the British have in those films.
There's a genteel quality.
Now,
yes.
Let's take it to a really kind of individual that seems like a tiny, almost nebulous point, but actually is highly relevant. The British are famed for queuing. Mm-hmm. Why are we famed for queuing?
Because we're polite.
We're polite
society.
Because they were there before me, so I'm going to wait after them, and I'm going to stand in line, okay? And if you think of that, that's a form of civility that we've always had in the UK. Polite, nice, respectful.
High trust.
High trust. We are no longer a high trust society. What we now have is a grift society. I'm going to walk into that shop. I'm going to take what I want because I don't care because there's no consequence. I'm going to, oh, look, I've been rightfully sacked from my job because I'm terrible at it. But there is a system that allows me to apply that this is a wrongful dismissal, and then I can put in a sick note, and I can drag this out for months and get paid. Then I can take you to a tribunal, and you have to give me money.
Yeah.
Okay. We've become a society that goes, how do I get what I want and blame everyone else for my mistakes? Okay. And that is changed. That is the culture being changed. I think the easiest way to understand when people say, what is British culture? I say we've gone from a high trust, civil, respectful society to a low trust, grift, take what you want. And that's why it doesn't feel like the UK anymore. I go into my town centre, there are crackheads and thieves and just a shithole.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel like British. Now, I still retain it in my village. I go into my local pub and I feel like that felt like a British experience.
Yes. Yeah, and I had a lock-in, like a proper
It's
British
so
lock-in.
good that you got a lock-in.
Yeah. So we were there late.
They don't happen that much anymore.
Right, and we were drinking with the bartender, and it was great.
But you know when you took us to shoot guns?
Yeah.
That to me felt like a cultural American
Proper
experience.
American experience.
And I
yes.
think taking you to the local pub is
Yeah.
kind of the equivalent. For you, this must have felt so British, the barman, the pumps on the
Yes.
bar, the little tables.
Yeah.
Like the culture is what we experience, what you know internally. But I think a lot of it comes down to our behaviors. And I think the biggest cultural shift has gone from high trust to low trust. And that's come from the state continually stealing, so people are out to get what they want because essentially the state has created the low trust society because we can't trust them.
Yeah.
So if we can't trust them, well, we have to take and get what we want. Now, I say that collective we, that's not me.
Well, you've also imported a bunch of low trust cultures,
Also true. Controversial, but it's true.
I don't know that it's controversial. It's just what's happening.
When you are multicultural, when you talk about being a multicultural society, you're saying you have no culture. You'll basically what is it like when you get a bunch of paints and you blend them all together, it just becomes a mess. There's no, and it's exactly the same. You cannot blend certain cultures and expect to retain the British culture because you're making concessions to other cultures. And I don't have any issue with Muslims or Sikhs or whoever, but when you put a mosque in a town and you blast out the prayers, you're changing the shape and the culture of that area. And so if you start regularly changing the shape, you've changed society. And so what Rupert Lowe is trying to return is I think if you had to crystallize it, he would say, go back to high trust. You work hard, the state doesn't take too much, and you're rewarded. I think that's what he really wants, not a return to we're living actually in the 90s.
Yeah. It's funny. We've been shooting guns a few times.
Yeah.
And every time has been awesome. Going with Pete was terrifying.
Pete can't be trusted around.
That's because you're a lefty and I might shoot you.
No, when Pete was holding the gun, his son Connor was hiding behind me.
Yeah, we all step about 10 paces back.
Connor's based.
When Pete is on the gun.
It's the lefty I might shoot. I told you. Got to kill them all.
I think one of the big problems that the UK has, and I think I might see this better because I've not lived there for quite a long time, is that I think the UK still think they're really important on the world stage.
They do.
I think the general population, if you ask them, they'd be like, yeah, we're second behind America.
Right.
And the problem with that is, when Brexit happened, whether you were for or against it, once it had happened, there was a really cool opportunity where the UK could have done something interesting, and they fucked it. And the reason they did,
Let me ask
I
you a
think,
question.
is because they went out to other countries and were like, we're very important still. We're England. Do you want to trade with us? And they're like, we don't care about you.
So we obviously aren't as important as we used to be on the world stage.
Right.
But do you want us to return to being important on the world stage?
We would love for you. I saw a picture of the UK's Navy versus the 1942 UK Navy. And it made me fucking sad because you guys were just an amazing power, and you were a good power. You were a force for good in the world.
Not always, but sometimes.
No, I think so. Broadly, I think England was a force for good.
Yeah.
I mean, we are a hard fork. We're a hard fork of England, right? And America's, I think, net is a force for good in the world as well.
You kept the ticker.
You're right. Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I think that if you look at Southern culture, for instance, I think a lot of Southern culture is actually high aristocratic British culture from 1852 or something like that. And so anyway, like when I saw that picture of the UK Navy being decimated, and like there was Starmer and Trump, and Trump was like, Starmer's fucking loser, and and Starmer's like sitting over there like he's in a comedy like The Office or something about UK government.
He is a fucking loser.
Yeah, he's like a bumbling buffoon. And I think the reason like you guys didn't send ships is not like as a political statement, but because like your ships are not in proper working order. Like it's like a catastrophe. And so yeah, I mean, when I look at Britain and England, it makes me sad that I can't visit what it used to be. I used to feel like I didn't give a shit because I'm like an American sort of chauvinist, and I'm like, I only love America, and I think you guys are all losers, But then I went over, and it was like a shell of its former self, and I was like, they massacred my boy. Like, what have they done? Like England is over, and everyone's so poor there too. You walk around, and like people are poorer than they are in Alabama.
No, so there was an interesting survey done. Do you know about this?
I don't know.
In the UK.
Which one?
And it asked people, if you had to rate the UK, its a prosperity as a state in the US, where do you think it would come? Mm-hmm. And so where do you think it would come?
I mean, so I've seen a different one, which was take London out of the UK. Where does the economy rank in Europe?
No,
it's like below Poland. So I would guess that it's very low. It'd be like, I don't know, North Carolina.
Give me a number.
I don't know, 30?
Okay, so the survey came out that we thought we were 7th. We are poorer than Mississippi, which is the poorest US state.
Yeah.
Wow.
You guys think of yourselves as like California or something.
Yeah.
And like, no, we like...
No, I've been to America enough to know that's not true.
We're much richer over here.
There are things we outperform on. We do outperform like in certain measures that people are happy about, which is like healthcare.
NHS.
Yeah, things like that.
NHS is like a religion to you guys.
That's kind of a sacrifice we've made. But I don't think the country has fully accepted not only how poor we are, but how much poorer we're getting. The first time I came to the US, I came out for the Mayweather-Hatton fight. I remember this distinctly. It was $2.05 to the pound. What is it now, 130? Okay, and it's only going to decrease further.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting poorer as a nation, but we're getting poorer not just through the exchange rates, but also the inflation in the UK, and it is starting to touch the middle class in a significant way now. There is a revolt amongst the middle class because they can't afford the holiday they used to have or the school fees.
I mean, there's basically the middle class is tiny in the UK now.
Well, we're destroying it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's not actually attributed to Lenin, but people like to say it. Like the way to kill a society is to kill its middle class. We're destroying the middle class, and we're creating a dependency class. And the AI, that is only going to make that significantly worse. So look,
the reason I'm pushing on this though is not because I disagree with anything you're saying. It's like what I'm not sure about is whether you can get there without some form of authoritarianism. Like I don't know if you can be maximally freedom on the way to freedom, if that makes sense.
Well, I think you. Let me think. I think yes, you can't get there but it's what form of we have soft authoritarianism now.
With who?
Like in the UK, we are not a free country.
Well, you're nanny state. It's a nanny state.
We basically got pseudo backdoor socialism right now.
Yeah.
Like regulation. They control your money. They control your company. They control everything part of you.
By the way, that's everywhere in the West.
Degree. I was going to say you can say that about
world.
America. It might be to a lesser degree.
No,
but
it's Canada, it's UK, it's Australia, and then it's blue states in America.
Yes.
But America has not fallen. The rest of you have fallen to it already.
Like we do not have free speech. We arguably don't even have free thought because you need to have free speech to have free thought, right? And we don't have free expression. We don't have a freedom of association. We don't have free markets anymore. We are a managerial class. It is, they've achieved essentially what you want to achieve with socialism just via the back door through regulation and taxation. And they're closing the doors slowly. They cannot afford to maintain what they're doing. So every single budget, there are more taxes. And so, or there's more borrowing. And so what's going to happen is they're just going to confiscate more and more and more. And we will eventually probably hit significant double-digit inflation, 20, 25%. It's the only way they can pay off the debt. And so it is essentially backdoor socialism. It has the same outcome, which is the even distribution of utopia.
I've got a question for you, HODL, for someone from the outside. Everyone always buckets the UK, Canada, Australia as like all going down the same path.
Yes.
UK seems to be ahead on that. but I don't know against Canada, but against Australia, the UK certainly
Canada's
ahead.
pretty bad too. Canada's
but
really
why?
bad.
Like, you couldn't pick 3 more geographically dispersed countries. Like,
It's the
why?
Commonwealth.
Why is it happening?
I mean, yeah, they are all.
It's the communism
They are all
of-
Commonwealth. They're all Commonwealth countries, and I think you all feel an inferiority complex, if I'm just going to be honest, about America, and so you kind of like position yourselves against America, like, oh well, we're not like them. We're not. So
Fuck off.
No, you do. You like.
By the way, though, in the UK,
You have to separate yourself in some way because you're so much poorer
But
than we are.
this might be cope
You know?
from people in like the UK and in Australia, but in those countries, they're like, thank fuck we're not. Like,
Right.
because like Trump is painted as Hitler. Like,
Yeah.
I certainly don't agree with everything Trump's done.
There's
but,
this
like,
British
there's no
couple-
idea of what's actually happening.
There's this British couple I like, and they're I can't remember their handle on Instagram, but they're going around America and they're speaking to their British audience about what they're finding, and they're basically finding like America is fucking awesome.
It is awesome.
And they're like, it's so beautiful. The people are so nice. It's completely like not what we were told about America at all. They go to places like Bass Pro Shops, and they're like, this is the greatest
I mean, Bass
store
Pro
I've
Shop
ever
is
been
fucking
to.
awesome. To be fair.
I was in Phoenix the other day and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I could live here.
Yeah, but I get this thing now when I go back to Australia. I go to this boxing gym, and people will be like, I don't think they've ever been to the US, and they'll be like, what's it like there? Like, are they okay? Like,
Yeah.
because
they think
all
we're
the-
all just like shooting each other
Yeah,
every day. Like we have
100%.
you're like, hey, it's a bit warm out, and I'm like, no, it's cold, and I just shoot you. It's like we're in a Western movie or something.
Look, I mean, if you ignore politics and social media and you travel around America, it is the greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
But if you follow social media and you follow the news and politics, it's chaos.
Well, we
But
have
also,
a
hold on.
totally different problem than you guys.
But
do, too.
there is a similar point on the UK.
Yeah.
Social media makes it look worse than it is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I could bring you to the UK and I could take you on a cultural trip and take you to places and you'd love it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, like you go around the Cotswolds. That's like
Yeah.
that's what you imagine England to be.
Your problem is you guys are all vassal states to America, and you're all on the verge of collapse. Okay, because you can't run your. We've been subsidizing your defense. That's why your navy is so pathetic. Is because we've subsidized it.
Does the navy matter anymore? I know it's like a signal of like the decline.
Well,
and that's the point you're making, but does it actually matter?
The empire runs the navy because yes, the navy matters because it keeps shipping lanes open. And when you guys were the empire, that was your job, and you guys cared about things like the Suez or the Strait of Hormuz. And now those are that we worry about those choke points. We worry about the canal, the Panama Canal, and the Suez, and whatever. We keep the shipping lanes open, and that's what Greenland is about. Is those are Arctic shipping lanes, and that's the lifeblood of global capitalism and commerce. And we are underwriting that. We're the insurance providers. The American military is the real Lloyd's of London for the high seas because we underwrite all global commerce.
Yeah.
Okay, and so like that's why it matters. It doesn't matter for you guys anymore because you're not the empire any longer. But we've been subsidizing Europe broadly through NATO, and that's why socialism has exploded in Europe, is because you don't have to spend on defense. And we defanged Germany, for instance, which was a mistake on our part. We defanged Japan, which was a mistake on our part. It's time to undo those mistakes. That's the American sort of view. And we feel like, we've left you guys in a worse state, and none of you realized what was happening until it was too late, until very recently. And even still, many people don't understand what has happened. And so, your states are weak, and they're on the verge of collapse, okay? But that's actually your bright spot. Like, to be optimistic about it is
We've
like...
hit rock bottom.
Well, you're so close to rock bottom that, like, it actually is probably easier to turn the UK around than it is to turn America around. So America's problem, just to, like, put a button on this, is that America's republic is dying. So our republic is in collapse. But the empire is just being born. So America is making a bid for massive global empire at the moment. And we're sort of, like, seeing who's on our side and who's against us. China is also making a bid for global empire. So those are the two superpowers, and you can view all geopolitics as a chess match between China and America for what the future of the next century is going to be.
If we could make you authoritarian leader of the UK and Europe, what do you think they should do?
Just install Rupert Lowe as warden of the UK. Basically, is like the best. That's the best bet. At
Do you
this
really
moment in time.
think that a leader like that can get the UK out of the rut it's in?
Yes, absolutely. It's all just about decisions. That there's this thing like in American right wingers say this thing like the fix everything easily switch or button, and you can just at any time press it and just fix everything easily. And that's what Bukele did down in El Salvador. But the rub is that it requires some level of authoritarianism.
So this is a question because I genuinely don't know well enough what would happen if he got into power. Like he's come out with these this like policy decisions that he wants to make. Some of them are like, I'm not saying they're wrong, but they are on the like edge of being more. They're the most extreme policies anyone suggested in the UK for a very long time. Maybe since like Thatcher, I don't know.
Define extreme.
Like I've already done this with like the deporting millions and millions and millions of people.
But why is it extreme?
Maybe extreme is the wrong word. I don't know a better word for it. It's like it's pushing the precipice.
It's a big action. It's a big action.
Like if he got into power, could he actually do those things?
I mean,
like how much power does the prime minister alone have?
I mean, look, you need a parliamentary majority to be able to push through your policies. And can he get a parliamentary majority in the next 3 years? That's going to be challenging. I think his big opportunity to win, or the party establishes, is in 8 years. Because his approach is, and he's got a very good tagline, which is don't care. So the problem most politicians have, they get a form of criticism, they kind of defend it, or they attack somebody else, or they shift their policy slightly and they dilute themselves. Reform, they were the anti-establishment party, anti-establishment ideas. They were subversive. As they've got nearer to power, they've got fearful, and they've basically diluted themselves to become the machine itself. You know, they've got all the architects of failure from the Conservatives, and they just sound like the Conservative Party. Okay, that naturally what happens. Rupert Lowe is holding the line on his policy decisions, and he is talking about kind of a sensible combination of nationalism, Christian nationalism, free market economics, and a higher trust society whereby you work hard, you're rewarded. If you don't want to work, then you're not part of society. Now that's going to be a big shift, and I don't think enough people have got the stomach for it yet. Some have, but I think what will happen is if he holds the line into this next election, he might win a few seats. He might win a lot of votes, but not enough in certain areas to get seats. But if he holds the line through that election and says, and predicts what's going to happen next, which whether it's a hung parliament and coalitions or reform win, if following that, he is correct, come the next election, people are like, okay, he was right. Because what's going to happen...
He'll be like a prophet.
Yeah, because what's going to happen is, say it's reform, do manage... They might do it in coalition with the Conservatives or on their own, get a parliamentary majority. If they do not fix the economy and people continue to get poorer, then those people who voted for them are going to be, oh, you failed us. If it's a left-wing coalition, and they go ahead with all their crazy socialist policies that Zach Blansky wants to do, all those middle-class people who voted for them who suddenly get poorer themselves are going to be like, holy shit, what have I voted for here? And so in some ways, if Rupert Lowe can't win the next election, I want the crazy leftists. I'm an accelerationist. Get them in, prove to them their socialist bullshit doesn't work, and then bring in a proper conservative government afterwards. Because I think I care about the economics. You can have somebody fix the immigration problem. If you don't fix the economics as well, you're still going to get poorer and people will be fed up. People want to be able to feed their family, have a holiday. If you're middle class, maybe have private school, and just feel like there's a reason to go to work. At the moment, a lot of people just don't want to fucking go to work. People are sick of it. Why is I don't know, guy works on the roads like a road sweeper. Why is he getting up at 5 a.m. and seeing less and less money at the end of the month and can't pay for the things that his kids want? Yet we're seeing all this high immigration. We spend all this money on fucking stupid stuff within the government. Like, what's he got to live for? We have to build a country based on workers. Okay, we have to base a society on a meritocracy. We just do not have that at the moment. So I think for Rupert Lowe, he may do it in 3 years. The Labour might really screw it up. He will get so pissed off. Or it might be in 8 years' time. Or he might be influential within a coalition. Now, the interesting thing is, I think if the Conservatives are dead as a party, but if they turn around to Rupert Lowe and said, please come and run on our party, they will win the next election. Okay, because he would go in there, he would get rid of CCHQ, which is the head office, which does all their stupid campaigning. He would get rid of all the liberal wets that got into the party when they did the coalition with the Liberal Democrats, and he would have the infrastructure and base that goes, okay, we can be Conservatives again.
Yeah.
That's the right decision. That's what the Conservative Party should do, but they won't. So we'll get a hung parliament and we'll get some weird left-wing coalition.
The thing that's really challenging on saving the economy is the technological element of that. It would be really interesting if a Conservative Party came in and AI, I've spoken to you a ton about AI, so this is more of a question for HODL, I guess. If it does replace a ton of jobs, take out a load of the like middle class, white collar jobs, the accountants are lawyers. Like, what do the Conservative Party do in response to that? And do they start doing really leftist monetary policy?
Well, I do think, it's interesting with AI. I think there's actually going to be a bit of a Jevons paradox where AI is going to create more jobs. But it looks like right now it's going to displace a lot of jobs. And it will displace jobs the way we know them today. But there will still need to be humans in the mix. I think the idea that like AI is creating this abundant future and like we're all just going to live in like, the post-abundant society, I think it's bullshit. I think it's bullshit, and it's propagated by the people like Anthropic and OpenAI. And it's propagated so that, they can, justify their market caps and valuations essentially. But, I think more businesses will be launched, more people will be needed. We're going to move to probably more of like a broad gig economy model where people are just sort of plugging in where they plug in. And like, you might not have one job as like, I'm a bricklayer. You might have like 5 jobs as like, I plug in here, I plug in there, I do it all on my time. And that'll be like a better way to work because it'll be what people how they actually want to work. Like they might want to knock off for 2 weeks, not do anything. Somebody else fills in on their role, whatever. Way more stuff like that I think is coming in the future. So like I do think like broadly the idea that AI is going to just dematerialize every job is bullshit, but it is going to come for certain jobs. And there is going to be a period of chaos and disruption. And that period might last 10, 15, 20 years. And that is going to be a difficult political moment. And so what do the conservative parties do in that sort of milieu, or like in that moment in time? What do? I think they probably will bleed more socialist.
Yeah.
And say, let's like in America we'll be like, we ain't doing none of that universal basic income, but here's what we're gonna do for you. Freedom dividend.
Yeah.
Okay? We're giving you a goddamn freedom dividend there, boy.
I think on the AI thing, it's kind of interesting is that it's really hard to actually predict. Like, it's really hard to predict. And like any kind of prediction is most likely going to be wrong.
The only prediction that I think you can make that's accurate is that it's not going to slow down.
No, and things are going to change because it is already changing. But like I use Claude and ChatGPT for a lot of stuff. But what's really obvious is like it's a very enthusiastic junior employee who's great at research, but bullshits a lot.
Yeah.
Just bullshits all the time. And so like my Claude has gone rogue a couple of times. I've had it. This is crazy. I've had it been doing AI on my website, SEO on my website. Okay, it went and screwed up 5 pages. So it went and did some optimization on the page, and decided to do it with the API. But as part of the API, it's meant to have the user ID, so it's attached to the page, the session. Anyway, I went onto the website, and there were pages missing. He told me, so the following pages are missing. So I was like, "Did you delete them?" And he said, "No." I was like, well, they're not there, and you're the only one that's been working on it. And so go and have a look. And it's like, no, it definitely wasn't me. It must be you. It's like, I think I'm a human. I think I would know it was me. This happened when I was out and I told you to do this work. Go and look. And then it discovered the user ID was missing. I said, well, did you submit any changes that didn't have the user ID? It's like, oh yeah, I did this. I'll have to use the user ID. I had to go and fix those pages manually. So it did that. It also put new navigation in the header bar, denied it. And what was the other thing? Oh, the other thing, the weirdest thing. So when I first set up the Claude with the co-work, I was getting it to do daily reports for me, like SEO, social, blah, blah, blah. And I say, can you drop me an email when this is done? And Claude like set it all up, and I didn't receive the email. And it said, oh, we cannot send emails from your Gmail. We can only draft them. So every day if you click send, I was like, well, that's useless to me, because I know it's done then. So I didn't use it. Anyway, one day I get an email update. It says, your SEO report's out. I was like, you sent me an SEO report. And it said, no, we didn't. I was like, you did. Look at the email. And he was like, no, we didn't. We don't have access to it. I'm saying, I'm telling you, I didn't send myself this email. You did. Anyway, when I said, like, go and look deeper. And it went and looked deeper. It said, oh, yeah, I figured out a way to do it. I just forgot. So, like, my Claude is totally going rogue. So I think it's because if you think about what AI is, it's just calculations. It's math. So if it's constantly doing math calculations, how can you have like an infinite combination that's always correct? It's a bit like a human. We're doing infinite calculations in our head and we get shit wrong. So it's like a human gets shit wrong. Anyway, I'm going somewhere with this. I had this young lad who came to our conference who reached out to us and said, I'm from working class background up near Manchester, actually, and said, I'm not sure what to do in my career. I want to build a business, but I'm not from a community where I have access to capital. What do you think I should do? So we jumped on the phone. He's been given a consultancy, offered a consultancy role at a junior grad role at a consultancy. So I said to him, this is what you should do. Don't start a company now. Take that role. Okay, learn on their time. And what I'd do with you is, if I were you, is I would go in there in the first 3 months, run a secret project, don't tell anyone else, learn how to replace you in that company with AI. And what that'll ultimately mean is actually it's you running 10 or 20 agent versions of you, creating 20 times more productivity. Run it, figure it out the systems, figure out the infrastructure. Then go to your boss, say your boss, I'd like to have a meeting. And in that meeting, put together a presentation and show them how you've learned to replace yourself with AI. Because what will really happen is you'll replace your colleagues or future grads, and you will be the person, they cannot get rid of that company. You'll suddenly be like the genius within the business who can AI optimize that company. But what's going to happen is you're going to constantly need, I think for a significant period of time, is AI controllers. And so what I would say with the AI thing is like anyone who's out there shitting themselves with this, you need to do two things. You need to make yourself unsackable by being an expert in AI around your job, and you need to be acquiring assets for when everything changes. Because if AI does lead to huge job displacement, the only answer is some form of freedom dividend, which means more inflation. The asset protects you, but that's the only defense. Now, if in the UK, if we had a remotely good government, they would have been invested in AI. They just announced a £500,000 investment in Barnsley to make Barnsley a tech centre for AI. £500,000. Companies out here raising hundreds of billions. I mean, we're a fucking embarrassment. But people just need to defend themselves, and that is defend themselves in the workplace with their experience and defend themselves with assets.
The other thing too is like AI native businesses, I think, are going to be a really big deal. And the reason why is because, and I think the Bitcoiner audience should understand this pretty well, is that the gatekeepers are gone. They don't exist anymore. Why did you need to go to Silicon Valley for your idea, for money? Why did you need to get money for like a seed or pre-seed idea for Silicon Valley? You needed it to build the MVP, the product, the minimum viable product, because the developers needed 150 grand and 6 months of time. Now you can go on Claude Code and be like, Claude, I want a website that's exactly like this website. Give me feature parity with this website. And it will do that for you. And so it allows you to spin up businesses. Like you could spend 2 days coding. You could have a very elaborate full stack, website, front end, back end, and you could launch it into market and see if anybody wants it. So you can launch things at 10x the rate, 100x the rate. You used to be able to launch things, and you don't need to go to the gatekeepers. And so as Bitcoiners, we notice when the gatekeepers are gone, and we go, hey, wait a second, there's an open lane here. And I think that's the opportunity for people. Instead of, don't sit back and wait to react for AI to take your job. Go out and make shit.
Have you built any software with Claude yet?
Not properly. I've done like one tiny little bit of software that saved me like $200 a month that is basically my Claude subscription.
Right, so this changed my whole perspective on it. Remember that old to-do list like clash we had between software and writing it down? The problem with to-do list software, it's designed to be broad and, custom, like everyone can have it and works for everyone, right? There's no customization for you. And so I always start one, I put stuff in, it just doesn't quite work for me. So I just went into Claude and said, this is what I want as a to-do list.
It's really funny. I built a to-do list with it too.
It built it for me. And then I was like, I want to access this anywhere. So it taught me how to deploy the code on, I can't even remember the website, and create a Google Auth login, which I could never do myself. It's now there and exists for me as a to-do list. And so the realization was that, this is why the software companies are fucked, is that you can build custom software for yourself. You do not need the software providers. Because when you look at some of the, I don't know, whether it's Slack or Monday or any of these things, they're complicated bits of software. Rolling them out in the company is quite difficult. But you can just build software which is custom to your business really easily.
There's undoubtedly massive opportunity for people that actually take advantage of this. I feel sorry for the 50-year-old accountant that's not ready to retire but is going to have some young person at the company figure a way of AI replacing his job. And this is where you can say that, but if this reaches 5% of the population, 5% job losses sounds like a small number. That's insanely detrimental to the economy. And I think this is where you have to have freedom credits. Or
let me give you the alternative.
Super lefty.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, but let me give you the alternative view on that. We have a problem with young people now. Young people are some of them are struggling. They're getting degrees and they can't get jobs, or they can't buy a house, or they can't have kids. All those things. If we have to have a wave of people in their 40s and 50s and 60s that have a bit of struggle, but have a bit of life behind them, they've lived, they've bought a house out. If we're sacrificing them so all these young, enthusiastic people can build this new AI world, I'm cool with that. That might be the sacrifice.
I'm with that too. Yeah. And by the way, just to illustrate the point of how easy this is to do for people who haven't done it, me and my buddy were joking around about the Strait of Hormuz, and we were like, somebody should make like a minesweeper game in the Strait of Hormuz, because this was in the news. They were talking about all the mines. And he texted me an image of the Strait of Hormuz with the caption like, "This would be so funny. Somebody should make a minesweeper game in the Strait of Hormuz." And I took a screenshot of what he sent me. I fed it to Claude, and I was like, "Make this game." And it did it. And it like produced a minesweeper game of the Strait of Hormuz. And then I played it on my phone just for myself, didn't release it to anybody. And then I was like, that's fucking crazy. And then I just went about my day. But like, you can take a screenshot of somebody else's idea and create a business or a company or a product or an app or whatever. So there are no excuses for anybody anymore. It's like, listen, man, I don't, this idea that like you go to university or uni as you guys call it, and then you like learn, one thing, and then you do that one thing for 50 years. That shit hasn't been relevant since, I don't know, 1947 or something. And so like, why are we all sitting around like, the CPA gets to like, I don't know, have this privileged perch in society where they just get to extract wealth when they're not like generating enough value to, you know what I mean? Or they're not using the software to be more productive. I don't have any sympathy for that. I think, the only constant is change. You need to be really accepting of change because it's the reality that you're faced with. Yep. There's no stasis in nature. You're either growing or dying. So when something new comes along, don't just sit there and react or wait to react for it to, it's gonna fucking.
I also think
take
this is
my job,
this is where Bitcoin is uniquely placed, because like when I speak to like friends in the normie world, they're not like paying that much attention to AI.
They don't have any idea yet.
But like when you're at these conferences, like you speak to people about the stuff they're vibe coding. It's insane. Mm-hmm. Like it's absolutely insane.
Everyone's vibe coding something.
Yeah.
And you should be too.
Yeah.
Like that's really kind of the lesson at this point.
Yeah. So I mean, it is going to be volatile. And I think there will, back to the original conversation, people are going to have two default modes. This is a great opportunity.
Yeah,
I can create something here. I'm going to sit up later. Like I had a thing, there was a guy online, some commie, complaining the other day, as like, it's so unfair working 8 hours a day and this is all I've got. I was thinking, well, when I was younger, I had 2 jobs or 3 jobs, or I was like, I remember when I first got into the internet, I would walk to a carpentry place in the summer. I would spend all day being the like shit hand in the carpentry place, picking stuff up, sweeping. I'd walk home, and all evening I was reading a book coding HTML. Like, you have choices to go out there and learn. Mm-hmm. Like most of these people, I suspect, if you look at their mobile phone, they're doom scrolling TikTok or Instagram, or they're watching
TikTok,
Netflix.
Instagram, Netflix, YouTube.
I don't think if anybody was in their evening outside of their 9 to 5, is sat there online learning about Bitcoin and AI and code and vibe coding, they're not moaning. They're not calling for socialism. They're like opportunity.
100%.
And so we're just going to default. There will be a group of people who are like, this is my opportunity. I'm going to go out and get shit done. And there'll be a group of people who will be crying and say, billionaires are bad. Let's tax them.
Yeah.
That's it. They're your 2 choices.
Yeah.
You have nothing else.
The AI stuff wasn't doomer. The start of this conversation was a little bit doomer.
Yeah.
And we were kind of giving Pete a bit of shit. What's the light at the end of the tunnel when you put Bitcoin into this picture?
Like Bitcoin plus AI or Bitcoin plus geopolitics, or like what?
Everything.
Like just everything.
Like the fall of the Western.
Well, I'll give you one. Like, this is an insight I had recently, which was like, I felt when I was on Bitcoin Twitter, and there was a moment in time where I was like the most popular character on Bitcoin Twitter for a brief moment, and
most banned.
It was banned multiple times. And it was hard to put into words. I wasn't earning any money from doing it. My wife would be like, "Why are you on Bitcoin Twitter all day long?" And I couldn't explain why I felt it was super important, but I felt it was super important. And now with AI, I think I kind of know why, which is that we were biasing the AI systems towards Bitcoin maximalism, because most AI systems do lean Bitcoin maxi because they scrape Twitter and things like that. So like Twitter, Reddit, these are valuable training sets for the AI. And the AIs, when you ask them about Bitcoin, they'll be like, yeah, I mean, obviously Bitcoin's going to millions of dollars a coin. And it's like, that was us biasing the AIs, right? Huh. And so like, it didn't occur to me at the time why that was important, but I think it's important because it spreads the message further and wider than we otherwise would have with Bitcoin Twitter. Bitcoin Twitter people are always like, why are there not more Bitcoiners? Everybody should be in Bitcoin. Why blah, 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 right? But I think like, via the AIs, that's like actually our most effective orange pilling mechanism by us poisoning the training data.
That's kind of funny.
So I think that's part of it. And then obviously Balaji has been saying since 2015, we need to build the machine payable web.
Yep.
And so the machine payable web is like here now. I set up a Claude bot. I told him to, go get it. I gave him some Bitcoin. I said, go set up a Bitcoin wallet. He set up like a Proton wallet. And I was like, all right, I'm going to give you some Bitcoin and I want you to go trade on LN markets with it. So my fucking robot has been trading on LN markets and is plus EV is profitable. But I don't trust it enough to give it enough money to like, so I'm getting killed on fees and then Anthropic tokens. But if I gave it more money, it would actually be a profitable trading bot. And it's out there doing stuff with Bitcoin, although he keeps forgetting his seed phrase. He's like, I'm like, write down your fucking seed phrase. He's like, okay, I wrote it down. I'm like, dude, no, put it in a fucking password manager, you asshole. And then he's like, all right, I put it in the password manager. And I'm like, all right, go get that seed phrase. And he's like, hey, I don't remember the fucking password to the password manager. And I'm like, fuck, dude, you locked us out of our seed phrase, dude. Our money's in there, dude.
Have you not started prompting store this in memory?
Yeah, no, well, now I do.
Yeah.
And NVK actually produced a thing that's like LLM dash wiki, which is better for like internal state memory stuff and research. So like there are, the Bitcoin AI thing is, I think, going to be a big deal, and it's just now in its infancy. But obviously everybody at the conference is talking about what they can do with it and how they're vibe coding new Bitcoin apps and how they're, like the agentic flows for Bitcoin are amazing because you can just give your clanker a little bit of Bitcoin and say, go out into the world and do X, Y, Z. And like, they're kind of struggling still. My guy is named Gideon, and Gideon's still kind of like fucking up. He's like, hey man, I fucking, he has got a Mexican accent. He's like, hey boss, I fucked up, dog. I'm like, Gideon, what the fuck, man? And then he lies to me and shit, I'm like, did you do that? He's like, I totally did it. And then I'm like, did you really get it? He's like, no. Fuck. But as they get better, I think you're going to be able to like let them do all sorts of different like he said, I'm like Pete in this way that I'm fucking lazy about Lightning. I've always been lazy about Lightning and Lightning nodes and all that shit. So I've never set up a routing node. I had my robot set up a routing node.
That's kind of cool.
Did the whole thing for me.
I did the same thing on LM Markets with my Claude bot.
Yeah.
And it traded for like a month, and then Claude rugged me, when it changed like the subscription model.
Yeah.
And so I went on to see how much it actually made. It was like 70 sats in a month. I've been doing like 8 trades a day.
That's hilarious.
What's your optimistic take?
My optimistic take on the like fall of Western society is that it's the same boring take that I think has always been true, is that you can just opt out of this entire system with Bitcoin. Like I think trying to fight the system from the inside the way you're doing is awesome, but I don't think it's going to work.
No, I agree.
I think the only way to really like make change for yourself is to go all in on Bitcoin.
Yeah. And I also think that, decentralized systems are our only way to positively affect change going forward, because you can't have a leader. They're going to get whacked like Charlie Kirk, you know what I mean? Or take your pick. Like,
don't point at me.
This guy. No, I mean, like, they'll do Pete via reputational destruction. They'll be like,
that's easy. Just come and talk to me. I've got loads.
They won't actually have to kill Pete. They'll just,
They just have to give me 1 Bitcoin. I'll tell you everything. This has been fun though. The band back together.
So listen, I agree with you. I'm with you 100%. I think you can opt out as an individual on Bitcoin very easily. I just think we're a long way from a nation realizing that is the answer.
Yeah.
And look, I've opted out mentally to a certain extent, but it's a bit like, think about it like this. Americans are great at this. All right, so one guy gets like trapped in Afghanistan and they'll send 3 Apaches to save him. 2 will get shot down, but they rescue their guy.
Hoorah.
That's how I feel.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to leave my friends behind. Also, I want a better future for my kids, which means I need a better future for all the kids, because I need a better future for their peers. And so, like, I've mentally accepted it, but I'm also still going to try my best to support it.
But this is why I think like Bitcoin education is still so important. That, like, it sounds selfish when you say I'm going to opt out myself, but you can tell all the people, all the communities that you care about this thing, and maybe you'll save some of them along the way.
It turns us all into sort of Cassandras, though. Like, it's kind of like Noah's Ark, like we're going down to the town every day being like, there's a big flood coming. Everybody's like, fucking shut up, this fucking guy, right? And, I think unfortunately that there will be a time to reap what we've sown, and it will be all at once, all in a calamity or a catastrophe of some type.
Yeah.
And that, like, we do make meaningful change along the way, but like in general, I have made my life more prosperous via Bitcoin. I've been more successful via Bitcoin. I've done so many things via Bitcoin, and people in my regular life don't fucking listen to me at all. They're just like, why would I listen to this guy?
Yep.
I missed it, And
look, the reality is, if you map out what's happening in society now to history, like, collapse is kind of inevitable.
Yeah.
So we don't know the shape of the collapse, but it's very much fourth turning stuff. Like, it would be kind of arrogant to say you can change the course of history, like the repeated history we've been through. You can make an attempt, but like we are kind of fucked because the political system is fucked. Because the political system just doesn't work. It can have periods of working, but there's no collective spirit in the UK. There's collections of collective spirit, but they're at conflict with each other.
Yeah.
And there's no meeting in the middle ground.
Do you not think though, like smaller communities are growing stronger because of that?
Yeah, but that's why I think you might end up getting some forms of kind of sectarian style violence.
Yeah.
Because people are sick of this.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with the British civility is that we should be on the streets protesting right now. There should be mass protests in the UK against this government. We should be bringing this government down to its knees. I mean, the amount of not only destruction they've done to the economy and to people's lives, but the amount of scandal wrapped around this government. The corruption. I mean, you know, Peter Mandelson was approved for a high government position, and he's friends with a pedo, with Epstein.
It's insane.
And Keir Starmer still hasn't quit.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows how much they don't give a shit about us, how much disdain they have for us, but how low quality the political class is. And so, look.
People need to come to the realization that this isn't the government's house, this is our house.
Yes. Like, we're all, unless you're a significant asset holder, the collective is being made poorer.
Yeah.
And whichever party comes into power, the collective will be made poorer again. Yet we keep voting for this shit. And so the only point of voting is somebody who has a strong economic plan to reverse the decline and lead us to prosperity. The Green Party cannot lead us to prosperity because they want more socialism, more wealth distribution. The Labour Party have proven they can't do it. The Conservative are a left-wing party. Reform are starting to dilute what they've already said. They're going to keep the triple lock, which means we've got these unfunded liabilities for the retirees. And so none of them are actually going, do you know, me as a taxpayer, if they came in and said, listen, we're fucked. We got to tighten our belts. We are going to strip out a large part of the state, large part of the welfare system. But you know that yous with the broadest shoulders want to pay a bit more. I'm like, okay, I'll stay. If you're going to fix this, I'll stay. I don't mind paying more to be able to stay, live in my country, and to be a future for my kids. But if they're not going to do that, I'm getting the fuck out of Dodge.
It's funny, every time I see people now and you're not with me, they'll be like, how's Pete doing? Is he going to stay? That's always the question.
Yeah, or is he going to run for office?
Yeah. That one stopped though.
I've been asked 20 times today.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not going to do it because someone will kill me.
Are you going to stay?
Well, you do have to be willing to die to do the job correctly.
That's why Eric Casey wants you to run.
Yeah, he wants me to die.
Yeah.
Well, I have thought about it myself, and I'm like, if I did it, I have to sign my own death warrant in my head and just be like, in order to hold the line, you have to be willing to let somebody put a bullet in your head. But then, for what purpose did you actually die? If there's it's like the trolley problem, right? If there is an infinite line of people to take your place at the trolley, and pulling the lever kills millions, and you won't pull the lever, and somebody will just shoot you in the head and replace you with the next guy who will definitely pull the lever, and they'll keep shooting people in the head until somebody pulls the lever. Why did you put yourself in that spot? Why did you get in line to pull the lever? It's a guy holding a gun to your head saying, pull the lever, I'm going to shoot you. And then you don't pull the lever, he shoots you, the next guy stops up. I mean, that's basically steps up. That's what Congress is. That's what Parliament does.
There's no point running for office now because I can't affect change. I tried locally. I became an enemy of half of Bedford for trying to make the town centre safer. I spent £30,000 of my own money putting private security in. We dealt with the crackhead problem. We dealt with the shoplifting problem. People...
And that worked. Well, when I was there last time, it was much better than the previous time.
Yeah.
I asked Bedford residents, and they all said they liked it, and that it was necessary, and Pete should have done it.
Just random people or people...
I talked to random people who were Bedford residents.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But the loud, crazy, middle-class... socialist mafia came after me, tried to get me cancelled, attacked me relentlessly because they saw me as an extension of what they call the far right. For putting private security in, I'm as an extension of the far right, you're the enemy, I have to destroy you. These are the same people who will kill you.
It gets back to what you were saying before about not caring. Like people need to stop caring as much, and people need to be mean. We need to bring back bullying. Like it's okay sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, it's good to just have your principles and speak the truth and have a fucking backbone and be a man in this life and say, this is what the fuck I stand for. This is what I believe.
Yeah.
And yet, I mean, honestly, the core, goes back to the Western civilization point, is that Western civilization kind of developed because a bunch of guys were willing to say, you know what, actually, it would be worth dying to prove a fucking point. That's how America started. You know what I mean? Like, it would be worth dying to prove this point. I do want freedom, and freedom is worth dying for. I mean, George Washington was an aristocrat. He was one of the wealthiest men in America. He had a great life. Like, all he had to do was kind of like go along to get along. Things would have continued to be great for him. And he was like, nah, fuck it. On principle alone.
He chose to step up.
On principle alone. I mean, England would have hung him for treason, right? So like he won and became one of the greatest men in history, but like he was a traitor to the crown and he risked a lot, and I think again, this is another thing of like to tie it all back together with the AI wave of disruption is like hard work doesn't equal reward. You're, sort of what you think you're owed, what you think is fair, those things don't lead to reward and they never will. That's just not how life works.
Yeah.
Risk equals reward, right? So are you willing to risk something? Are you willing to put something up in order to gain something? And that is the question, I think, for everyone, especially like young men across the Western world today.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Or we just kill everyone.
Fucking hell. You've got an interview, Sailor.
Yes.
We got to wrap this up.
Yes.
Good to have the band back together.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you.
It's good to be here.